Welcome to Season 2 of The Aggregate, narrative coatings from around the globe. It's a broadcast that hails a treasured community of designers, architects, artists, and builders from around our world who refuse to ration their plaster passion. Amid a world of static and chaotic emotions, the show honors victories won and lessons learned. It tells the true tales rarely depicted on social media. With a neutral mind, these connective moments provide hiatus from the everyday hustle and bustle and offer a platform to recharge with our attention focused on shared skills and time-honored knowledge, ultimately curating continued creativity in everyday life. So take a second breath as New Age Artisans coats the planet and changes the standards of what it means to educate, empower, and create. I'm your host, Jeremy Mistretta, along with my man on the switches, Vincent Ryan, and welcome to our show. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Aggregate Season 2, Episode 18, climbing up there. Thanks for tuning in with us this week. Hope you enjoyed last week's episode with Petros Dandalos. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Sorry about the length, but not really sorry because it was good to catch up with him. If you listened in, I'm sure you could tell that him and I had a lot to unpackage personally, and it's all out there on the floor now, and everyone can see it. It's a beautiful little mess that we've made together. And if I had to rewind the clock, I'd do it all over again. Love that guy so much. Super fun week here at New Age Artisans locally. Put the landing gear down on a big installation for our friends at Highline Partners. I think we have about 9,000 square feet of our refined blend that got polished up amongst some modern architectural components that's rendered quite the beautiful home. Most of the common areas are a plaster version of Decorator's White, the powder room, the speakeasy, and the wine room are all bold colors that completely stop people in their tracks. And I really love subtle movement in the large homes. I think that the texture of the plaster is an accessible and grounding feature that connects people to the place. Yet when you enter a small and confined room that's meant to kind of pop with personality, the use of color, especially really bold color, conveys a message, I think, of enthusiasm and creativity. And I think that when it's used sparingly, it can be quite powerful. So stay tuned. This isn't one of these houses that we can't post on the Instagram, so I think we'll be posting some stuff soon. In the creative world, we had another fun Tadillac class workshop last week, and a couple local homeowners, contractors, and designers from afar flew into our space for a 3-day course. We went over the material history, substrate prep, and detailed scenarios for installations. We coded these ornate, really curvy blocks, and the students were able to really hone their skills. Super fun, and we're going to do it again. While we continue to teach on our platform every day, it's really fun and rewarding to do in-person classes. Keep your eyes peeled because we've got more in the pipeline. Wink, wink, nod, nod, Plaster Portals get some early access too. It's really an honor to share the craft of plaster and make people smile amidst this really crazy world we're living in now. My perspective is really peculiar to a lot of people, but to me, travels amidst the trade are pretty telling. I started off as a painter, as everyone knows, and I augmented my approach because I wasn't fulfilled. And as I felt as if I was dying, kind of a slow chemical death, I thought it was time to make a change. And when I entered the world of plaster, I literally felt these inherent toxins get kind of pulled from my body, and I felt alive, both physically and mentally. And at that time, 20-something years ago, there was an initial movement kind of in the green world. And many approached the revolution, I thought, with some super honest intentions, with the real goal to eradicate the evils of microplastics and toxins. And just like anything, sadly, a lot of people jumped on the trendy bandwagon and greenwashed their products. And I was bummed. I thought it was kind of bastardizing to what I thought was a viable move in the right direction. And with the rise of the economic recession came a speed in building that hadn't been seen in human history, and the conventional movement seemed to subside. As a former painter, plasterer, and now manufacturer, I make a conscious effort to offset our heavy, high-end footprint with attainable strides, and I applaud all those that do the same. My consensus is that we all run the risk, unfortunately, of being walking hypocrisies. And those that truly recognize this and make a conscious effort, those are the people that I want to surround myself with. People like today's guest, Price Latimer and Maya Crowne, co-founders of Alkemis Paint. How's it going today, ladies?
Going great.
Yeah, so happy to be here. We're hugely honored and greatly appreciative to be able to talk to you and chat about all the fun technical details about painting and material health. Really.
Awesome. Well, thanks for listening to my little diatribe. Sometimes I'm in the midst of them and I'm like, oh my God, dude, you're still talking. So thank you for lending me your ears.
It was really nice to be able to have a little context on how we all came to be sharing space today.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, it's always weird, like these little kind of swirling little Venn diagrams in the world, and how are we linking up, for sure. What's been going on so far today?
Oh, day in the life of an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Price is on the West Coast, but I am on the East Coast. So my day started with my alarm not going off, and me jumping directly into a call with, related to some shipping stuff. But it's been back to back. But we're excited and here for it and grateful. So Price, I assume, just kind of woke up and got her day started.
Yeah.
Fed the dog.
What time is it where you are, Price?
I was up at 7:30.
I had you beat by a few hours, Mountain Standard Time, but I'm not going to brag. As we take these narrative travels across the world, we meet people from all different walks of life. Architects, designers, builders, activists, manufacturers. And as I meet these amazing characters in our show of life, I'm introduced to others, and our big world, I think, comes a little bit smaller every episode. And just as I think may have met everyone, which isn't true, poof, I learn yet again that I'm naive. No surprise. And at times, the old social media doom scroll can provide. And months ago, it did. I was greeted with an advertisement that's really different than what I normally see. I often see images of off-white 50 Shades of Grey off the coast of Ibiza or Mallorca. And I'm not going to lie, it's beautiful. And I'm sure the images were taken by esteemed photographers, and architects are world famous. But I've seen it, and it's commonplace. And as I scrolled, I was immediately caught off by an ad that grabbed my attention and pulled me from my digital stupor. It was like these bright blues and reds and organic curves that covered the screen. And it was coupled with a personal and heartfelt testimony from a customer that sat beside two very sophisticated women. And it was an ad that was so real and it was so unique. And just like the aforementioned colors in the powder room and the speakeasy, I thought that the post radiated with a lot of color and energy, and it totally got me. So I dug a little deeper. I visited the bio, then the site. And then before I knew it, as the kids would say, Alkemis Paint had just entered the chat. So thank you, ladies, for being here with us today. We manufacture, we promote, we install, and we live and breathe this life too. And blah, blah, blah. Everyone's heard my story. I'm going to stop talking. But I'm not entirely sure if they've heard yours. So I'm curious about where it all started. Where, Price, did you grow up?
I grew up in Texas. So I spent a lot of time out on my family's ranch. I spent a lot of time immersed in nature with a lot of animals. So I've always had this very, very deep connection to the natural world. And I was very encouraged from a young age to be creative and artistic. Some of my earliest and greatest memories are, my grandmother's taking me to the local art museum, which was very close by to where I grew up. And that proceeded into a life of, pursuing creative interests. And I went to art school. I went to the Rhode Island School of Design. And, actually first, prior to that, I went to Parsons School of Design when I was in high school, did a pre-college program in Paris.
Oh, nice.
Which was absolutely mind-blowingly awesome and inspiring. And that really cemented my, love and passion and desire to pursue the arts. And then I went to the Rhode Island School of Design. I started in photography, and my degree from there is in graphic design. And so we did a lot of color theory and, art history. So when it came, I'll let Maya talk about her background and the genesis of the company. But when it came time to found and create and develop and build this company, I really felt so prepared, and like all of the things that I've done in my life really coalesced together with Alkemis.
Yeah, like the sum of all parts kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So all of my training and the things that I'm passionate about and all of my education really has been so fundamental from a creative perspective. Not only just from the actual production and application, but from a creative problem solving perspective as well.
Yeah. Life's memories all kind of coalesce in this like perfect reality, which is really
exactly.
Cool. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. How about you, Maya?
Similarly, obviously a different set of circumstances. I feel like a lot of different aspects of my life led me to exactly where I am right now. I grew up primarily in Long Island in the Hamptons. My dad was a professional tennis player, and my mom isn't American. She's from Lebanon, but she's also was a decorative artist painter when I was growing up. So I was surrounded by that all the time. She did projects like Celine Dion's theater, worked in a ton of different people's homes. She also was a multidisciplinary artist, and had a number of, she did lamps, she did porcelain, she did, all different types of, paint applications. And so, I've always loved art ever since I was a little girl. Like my most prized possessions were like my crayon box that I kept in perfect order despite like not keeping anything else in perfect order. But I think, as things go, when I was a teenager and my mom would have her art assistants that were like surrealist painters from France, like in my house, I was sort of like, I'm not doing this. I'm going to do a completely different path. I'm going to go into finance. But I think that, as most young kids or younger adults, are searching to find themselves, I kind of came full circle in that, in 2019, well, really, I would say earlier than that, but 2018, 2019, I started to really get back into art from the standpoint of, just collecting a little bit. Whenever I would get my bonus, I would buy a piece of art that I could afford. I really started to pay attention, go to art fairs, go to museums, and I would notice the materials. Like I was drawn to them, and I started taking classes at the New York Academy of Art after work. And I found that I would like lose 3 hours in a day just being totally enthralled with what I was doing. And it brought me so much happiness and so much, exercise in a part of my brain that, I felt I hadn't gotten the opportunity to work with in a while. And also to the point of my dad being an athlete and my mom not being American, like I had grown up on the natural food diet from the standpoint of like, we did not go to normal grocery stores when I was a little kid. There was no Whole Foods when I was like young. And so, we would go to like, natural food stores. Like, I was familiar with like rice milk and, hemp burgers and like all of that type of stuff from a very young age. And I always joke that nobody wanted to trade snacks with me. So that was like very much core to who I was, way early on. And yeah, I mean, really the story of Alkemis, we can wait a little bit to talk about the story of how me and Price met. But as I mentioned, so 2019, I'm taking art classes at the New York Academy of Art. I'm taking drawing, painting, and sculpture. During the pandemic, the school shut down. And I had considered that time so special that, I was finding myself trying to do all types of creative projects. And I wanted to repaint my apartment in New York City. And so I went to a local hardware store and I was wearing my N95 mask and I started smelling paint fumes despite being in like a zero VOC section of the hardware store. And I was like, I don't get this. Like, why does this smell so bad? And like, I'm going to suffocate if I try to paint my apartment because I can't go anywhere and I live in 450 square feet and I'm going to piss off all my neighbors. Like I have 12 neighbors on my floor. Like, why is it that paint smells so bad? And I knew that when I was in art school, like, the way that we had to, I mean, granted, I was doing more oil painting than acrylic painting, but still like the way that we had to dispose of paints and materials and like, be careful not to breathe certain stuff in. Like, I was like, what's going on here exactly? And so, anyone can go online and just do a couple of quick Google searches to realize that 95% of the paint that we're using on a global basis is acrylic latex. And, by virtue of that, it is derived from fossil fuels and plastic based. And so we're effectively painting our walls with plastic. And that just did not resonate with my values. So I'm like, I know that there are so many different types of materials that exist. That people have been painting their spaces long before their advent of plastic. There has to be another way.
Yeah, because it's so hard. I mean, there were companies, as I was saying before when I was talking in the introduction, like there were some companies that like made a big strive to do it early on. And then those companies, like they seemed to take some traction, There was like BioShield was one of them in New Mexico and like AFM Safe Coat and stuff like that. And it was really cool to see it. But then like the speed of building just went like so fast and they just kind of got like pushed out because of, these conventional fast paced, microwavable materials could just get put on the wall very quickly to keep up with the pace of everything. And yeah, I mean, I've definitely like, I walked into a house just the other day and like they were spraying lacquer on the trim and we were supposed to plaster it. And I was like, oh, I thought you said that they were done spraying lacquer. And he said, oh, they're just down in the basement. And I was in the driveway and I was like, bro, there's no way I'm going into that house right now. He's like, it's fine. They're not even wearing masks. And I was like, yeah, no, there's just absolutely no way. And I was driving down the hill back down to the village of Big Sky. And by the time I got back down to the bottom of the hill, the smell had finally like left my clothes. It was just like so wild. And then you take that and you think like, that's just here. That's just like this one little place, this one little blip on Earth. And then you think about how big Earth actually is. And you're like, holy smokes, this is crazy.
I mean, we use over 90 million metric tons of fossil fuels to make paint on an annual basis globally. And I mean, paint, according to an article done in Forbes in 2022, is the largest contributor of microplastics on the ocean. So to give context just from like an environmental perspective and, what we are not recognizing fast enough is that the environment is directly related to our health and our children's health and the future of, I can say it and we can all know it. but no one is acting fast enough. So we used to do things in a balance. Like in a perfect world, nobody paints anything. We use mud bricks. We all live in huts. And like that would be ideal. But if we're going to be in this modern society, like we really need to go back to creating products that are not just taking everything from the earth, that we're operating in a type of balance. And we, support AFM Safe Coat and BioShield and all of the people that like came before us as it relates to trying to do better.
Yeah.
But where Price and I really thought that we had an opportunity is, we both love art and design so much. We think that people want things that are clean and modern and aspirational inside of their home. And we felt uniquely positioned and able to create a beautiful, sexy, high design product that, unfortunately people are superficial, and they want what's like cool and interesting. And there's no reason why a product that is beautiful and high quality can't also be good for the environment and good for your health. And so that's really, the core of our mission is sort of inspiring people to think differently, through this creative problem solving, because like this is just paint for your wall, but we could think about everything this way,
Totally.
And we would be in a better place.
Yeah.
And we really like to say, kind of fundamentally our mission is that together we can raise the vibration of our home planet by starting with our most intimate space, our 4 walls, or 5 walls, or 5 surfaces if you're painting your ceiling. But just this idea, like Maya was referring to, of being really conscious and really intentional about the material choices that we're making. Not only from what we're eating and what we're putting on our skin and what we're cleaning our homes with, but specifically this conversation around building materials, which we feel is sorely lacking. And the idea that the quality of the air in your home is so fundamental, and that you can be doing all of these other things. You can be eating right. You can be exercising. But if you are living in a toxic environment, none of those other things matter so much.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. I was talking to somebody about that just the other day, about just at the end of the day, we were talking about a mutual friend, and they were having a rough time with basically their health. Mm-hmm. And the person told my friend, he said, I wished I just had money problems. That would be way easier to deal with. Health is wealth at the end of the day, physically
Absolutely.
And mentally. I mean, it's so, so, so important. You were talking about, your 4 walls and living and breathing the vibration. Your marketing, I can't say enough about it. I was just pulled in, I'm in. This is awesome. So, so cool. But I understand your story, Maya, with the painting and being locked down in COVID in a 450 square foot apartment. And were you in Manhattan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the whole entire time, but at first, because obviously we all didn't know how long it was going to last.
Yeah. No, thank you on that one. I just can't believe it. I mean, I was in my 3,000 square foot house with my wife and kids, and I was like, I'm going crazy. This is nuts.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah. But when did you first meet? Did you know about each other before you met?
No, we met in 2020. So a little after I sort of had this revelation, we met, in a beautiful mutual friend's, house ranch in, Santa Fe. We were at a wellness retreat. It was a really small group of people. We all had to get tested before we went. And probably some people thought we were a little crazy because not a lot of people were traveling at that time. But the community of mutual friends that we had are both very close and dear to our hearts on both sides. And so typically whenever we meet people in that space, they end up being lifelong friends. But I was immediately drawn to Price because she's amazing and so cool. We both had such a mutual love of art and design and the environment. I mean, I think, being on the land that we were in Santa Fe at the time, we were having a conversation around like the drought and the trees. And I didn't used to be as sensitive to, Mother Nature's emotions that I feel like, I've become increasingly more sensitive to it. I feel like all of human nature kind of has, especially, given everything that's happened in California recently, as these things come closer to home, we as humans, I think, innately feel that. But yeah, I mean, that's when we met, and we just stayed really close and in touch. And I mentioned to Price that I was a little surprised about this. Like, did she know about this as someone that is, has been in art and design? I mean, transparently, I didn't totally know what she did from a career perspective, but, as I kind of briefly mentioned, my background was in finance primarily, from a professional point of view and business development, and, I worked for American Express. I worked on Wall Street, all of that type of stuff. And, my aesthetic point of view, like, I consider myself an aesthete. I consider, I think Price and I had a very similar perspective on what is good quality, both visually, and from a product perspective. And so I really was looking for someone to help me, bring this idea to life, to make it, not just a good quality product, but to make it something that people wanted to buy, and that was infused with our essence as, artists in our soul. And, lo and behold, Price is a graduate of RISD in graphic design and has built brands and is an entrepreneur and was going to Parsons for interior design and happened to be like looking for a new entrepreneurial project because she had sold her interest in her previous company. And it just, I cannot express, how much I feel our skills are complementary. And that's such a good thing for, co-founders of a business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like the universe provides, like when it's time, it's
absolutely.
Yeah. What was it like for you, Price, when you met Maya?
Yeah. I mean, Maya's so ebullient and charming and smart and fun and interesting. And we really bonded, again, like over our love of nature and art and design and, environmentalism and, so many things. And we stayed in touch, and it was I remember specifically sitting with Maya, and she started telling me about this idea, and I was just like completely blown away that, of course, I understand what acrylic latex paint is made out of, but not putting the whole picture together. As someone who is so intimately involved in these industries, as someone who has worked in the art world, in the furniture world, in interior design, and, gone to the most esteemed art schools in the country, if not the world. And it was a real light bulb moment. And also, Maya and I both just being such conscientious consumers to begin with. And, we're both into naturopathy and homeopathy and making all these really intentional decisions around all these other things in our life. And it was a real, we like to say, like, going down that rabbit hole was simultaneously enlightening and horrifying, because you're just like, wait a second. You start seeing, all these facts and figures, and you realize, all right, humans are spending 90% of our time indoors, and we're receiving 72% of our chemical exposure at home. And indoor air pollution is one of the top 5 environmental threats to health. And, on and on and on and on, and realizing that traditional architectural paints contain toxic pigments, apes, HAPs, PFAs, preservatives, phthalates, fungicides, biocides, VOCs, solvents, plasticizers, all of these things that we know are very correlated, and we understand contribute to both short and long-term health problems. And it just, it didn't align with our values. And so we just knew there had to be a better way. And again, understanding this connection to the earth and to nature. It's like, let's go back and think about what people were doing before the advent of plastic. How have we been painting our, caves, environments, all of our different spaces before, the introduction of petrochemicals into this industry.
Yeah. Looking at the past to build the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And looking to Mother Nature for inspiration, right? Where Mother Nature is the best artist. So what can we learn? And, so that's really how it all came together. And again, like Maya said, we like to joke and say we're the perfect foil, just that all of these things that she's good at and I'm good at it and just really, melds and has come into such a beautiful symbiosis of working together. So we're so appreciative of that.
Yeah. It's like yin and yang have their own attributes, but like that little sliver that makes the line between the two of them, like that's where I think the magic happens. Like that beautiful lane.
I mean, Bryce and I feel like we can sit there and look and appreciate so deeply, like, different types of art together, like, and there's a very similar relationship to like the way that we're moved by it. And we both fundamentally believe that, it's artists and creative people that are here to like, and I believe that everyone has an element of creativity. I hate when people are like, oh no, I don't have that. Like there's so many different ways to be creative, if only it's nurtured. But we really believe like that's like the beauty of being human. And that's like what's going to help, hopefully, save us in the sense that, art is there to inspire people and to touch on, conversations that are very hard to verbalize. But, they evoke something inside of people to think differently. At least that's a lot of times the goal. And so, again, we're doing this with like colors on a wall, but, it's our artistic expression in this world together. And it's such, an honor to like be walking together in this journey. So.
Oh man, I love that. That's beautiful. I love that. That's so cool. That's the way I think most of the time too. And when I said in the beginning, like, yeah, I'm cut from a different cloth. Like I get it. My I think it was my kindergarten teacher told my parents, Jeremy marches to the beat of a different drum. And every time I'm doing something, people are like, you're crazy. And I'm like, yeah, no shit. We all know I'm crazy, but like, this is what I'm doing. And hey, guess what? It works. It works.
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
I deeply empathize with that because we work obviously with a ton of contract painters and so many of them are really artists in their own way. They really understand materials. Like they really, make things beautiful for people. And, sometimes like in the case of my mom, like, that's what she did to make money because it's obviously, a skill that's useful for homeowners to have somebody be able to plaster your space, do lime wash or paint it, even a most basic layer. But, if it was up to my mom, she would have like just made art, like, all the time. And so, like we love, the community of people that are tradespeople. They're artists.
100%. 100%. It took me a long time to kind of realize as I was sitting there and I was like cutting and rolling these walls and doing what I was doing, that it was like, I had this like inner creativity that was just like boiling. And then like, for me, it was like the walls became a completely different canvas when I started like spreading plaster upon them. I was like, oh my God, I'm alive. This is awesome.
Fun. And like you said, exploring all these different materials, like, doing Cadillac workshops with people and expanding on, the just plethora of materials, of natural, materials that are out there to cover one's walls with. Super exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. What was it like in the inception? Like, Maya, you had the idea. Price, you had the art experience with also an idea that was maybe like slightly latent in you, but Maya had the kind of this entrepreneurial drive. Who approached who first on the business?
It's actually a funny story. So, Price and I had met up a couple of times, after we first met, and Price, I was wearing like this turmeric, colored, sweatsuit, and Price was like, that would be so cool if you could use like turmeric to make pigments or something like that. And I was like, yeah. And, I was a little intimidated, to be totally honest, because like I'd always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't necessarily want to like create a product like this and take on such a big industry. It felt a little overwhelming, but like when I realized that there was like a real need, I approached Price again. Like I did not know what she did professionally. I was just drawn to her as a human and a creative person. And I was like, but I knew that, that she had that aesthetic, discipline of perfection, in a way that I recognize as having a mom that's an artist. And I was like, do you know anybody that could help me, with creating a brand like this, And Price was like, well, do you want more help than me just like referring you to somebody? And I was so honored, honestly, that I was like, I don't even know, what you do. And she's like, well, and it was like her professional background was so, exactly what I was looking for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That I was like, oh my gosh, and that's kind of really how it started.
Yeah. You're the person I've been looking for. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. What was it like for you, Price, when Maya approached? Like, how did that feel?
Yeah, same. I mean, and the timing was so interesting. Again, it's so fascinating how these things pan out in life. And the timing could not have been more perfect. And everything, like I said before, all of the elements of this particular business and project, they really touch on everything that I care about and that I'm passionate about in my life. And so, yeah, we were like, let's do it. Let's start this business together. And, we did 3.5 years of research and development.
Oh, nice. Did your homework. That's good.
Oh yeah. Lots of homework because, it's one thing to have an art history background and have a branding and, creative direction and graphic design background. But, getting from point A to point Z of launching a company and understanding the chemistry and the actual kind of production needs, to create a paint company, that's a whole different story. So it's been a really, rewarding and just intriguing journey. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 0 to 1 is one thing. 1 to 1,000,000, just like a whole different ballgame. You're like,
exactly.
Whoa.
But it's presented with a new set of challenges, I feel like, in every increment. Mm-hmm. And it's just a journey. And there's a lot of faith that has to go into it too. And there's a lot of moments that, you're so above and beyond excited at the things that you're manifesting. And then there's, plenty of really disappointing moments and moments of not being able to sleep and stuff like that. But, like any partnership, you need to have really good people that, I'm so grateful for Price as a co-founder for a million different types of reasons. And we're developing such an incredible team of people that, are inspired by our mission. And we get such incredible feedback, from people like you. And, we get emails probably at least once a week from somebody that's like, I've been looking for you guys. I've been hoping for a product like this. Like, this is what I needed when I was pregnant. Like, this is what my kids need. Like, this is what my parents need. Like, I have respiratory issues. Like, I have multiple chemical sensitivity. Like, I'm a green architect that's been in this space for the last 30 years and people were always calling me a tree hugger, and you guys are creating a product that people are excited about. Like, I can't even express like how much that means to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. When the world sees what you saw years ago, then it's like, for me, like with what we did, like I was like, I want to create a community around plaster. I want to like really put my money where my mouth is. And I want to be the change that I want to see in the world. And when the world kind of like looks back and like validates what you've just done, you know, I know that validation maybe isn't like the best thing to like hinge, you know, your success on, but I'm not going to lie. Like for me, it feels good, just like it does for you. Like when people call and they're like, thank you so much for the work that you're doing. We really appreciate it. You've been noticed. I'm like, I must sleep well tonight. So.
Yeah. No, totally. And I mean, like, I think that, the reality of the world that we're in is like, we live in this very, very superficial world. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a current of, climate change and separation and all of this divisiveness that we can't control. And it can be super overwhelming. And, I think trying to do what you can to live in your authentic self and, and give that to the world is like the only way that, I feel like I can sleep at night, in the sense that, if I tried to fix every problem in the world, like I would just feel completely overwhelmed. And sometimes I do, but it feels good to wake up in the morning and know that like we're at least trying to do a little bit better,
Yeah. Remember what I was saying before about the walking hypocrisies? Like around every corner, you can see something that you're doing that is kind of the antithesis of what you're trying to achieve. But still at the end of the day, like you're making an active effort, and your active effort has been heavily noted by me, which is really awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break since we have the background. And then when we come back after the break, I want to get into the day-to-day, because I'm also involved in the day-to-day on what I've got going on. And I feel like we could share some more stories for sure.
Absolutely. Sounds
great. The secrets of plaster. So many recipes, techniques, and applications. Its diverse definitions and coveted concoctions have confused many a modern applicator. And thanks to the possessive powers of the internet, there's even more information that mystifies the waters of comprehension. Enchanted by Google Images, hungry homeowners, architects, applicators, and designers search the tangled web, patching together some sense of structure to create textured walls, polish elements, abstract art, and relief pieces. What if the journey to success wasn't so challenging? What if all the inspiring information was integrated onto one canvas? Your wait is over. We are collecting years of practice, technique, and art into one hub, the Plaster Portal. With our streamlined system and contemporary interface, the portal protects these processes and offers applicators around the planet the opportunity of discovery, directly from the masters who preserve them. And we'd like you to be part of this communal movement. So become a member today. With affordable fee of just $75, you'll become a baseline member, which provides purchasing access to New Age artisan plaster blends, as well as hand-picked content full of tips, tricks, and time-saving strategies that you can't get anywhere else. You also acquire access to our Prominent Artist Series courses, celebrating both specialty plaster finishes and industry professionals from around the world who are proud to share their time-tested practices. With the strength of our membership, we can encourage the celebration of these trades, discover new and valuable skills, and conserve the arts. Head to newageartisans.com and click the Plaster Portal link. Sign up is fast and easy. We can't wait to have you as part of our community. Before we get back to the show, here's a guest from Season 1 with a quick hello.
This is Lydia Crowder, the Drywall Shorty from Bozeman, Montana, and you are listening to The Aggregate, the absolute best plaster podcast on the internet.
Hey, everybody. We're back with Price and Maya. Thanks so much, Lydia Crowder, a.k.a. Drywall Shorty. Nice to see you the other day in the shop. She stopped by, a little celebrity Instagram appearance for some of the students. It was just awesome to see her. Great friend and looking forward to having her on our artist series. Spoiler alert, Drywall Shorty levels 1 through 5. So stay tuned. Her class will be up in the spring. Before the break, we were talking to Maya and Price about kind of the synergy that existed between the two of them and these light bulb moments where they wanted to create their company. And I loved that it really resonated with me. And as somebody that is deeply in the throes of a manufacturing journey that can be all sorts of bumpy, I kind of want to share some stories of victory and defeat and talk about like the day-to-day journey, because every day is totally different. What was it like, when you just like grabbed hands and you're like, we're jumping? Like, what were those first initial feelings like? Like, tell me like day one. What was day one like?
Such a blur. What was day one like, Price?
Well, I think, it was really like, we're both really into project planning and project management and just thinking about laying out how do we get from point A to point Z, like we were talking about. And although we had this really exciting creative vision, the actuality of how do we bring this project to life from a business perspective and a production perspective was a whole different story. And like I said, we were really hearkening back to the history of paints and pigments and, kind of heritage paint making. Like, look, I mean, since the dawn of time, we've been crushing up rocks and using a binder to put them, to keep them together. And there I can like go so deep into that history. And, like the oldest evidence of paint making is in the Blombos Cave in South Africa, which is 100,000 years old. So how do we bring this to life in the modern age? And like Maya said, initially we were looking at using plant-based pigments, which are often used in the fashion world. So, indigo is one of the most common plant-based dyes that is used in the fashion industry. And so as a jumping off point, we hired scientists, we hired chemists, we hired feasibility experts to do all of these studies to understand what was possible from a chemical formulation standpoint. And I'll pass that off to Maya to talk about like what we learned about the plant-based pigments is basically that they're not specifically light fast for a very long time. You can mix them with a binder, you can put them on the wall, but the likelihood of them fading after exposure to UV light is, higher than you would want it to be. And so then that's why we landed on mineral-based technology. And I'll pass that off to Maya to kind of continue the journey from there.
Yeah. But I mean, I think, that's from a product development standpoint. And then of course there was, all of the nuances of starting a business in the sense of like fundraising and creating a business plan and, being very strategic as well to make sure that the community of people that we're working with from a, financial perspective align with our values of being a mission-oriented business. And, figuring out like the production components of our paint, like our paint is made in the United States, but our raw materials are sourced from Europe. That whole process, figuring out shipping, like figuring out, the labels, the cans, the way that the paint industry hasn't really innovated cans and, buckets in a really long time, and figuring out what we feel is like the most sustainable and realistic solution, like shipping as an example, like our paint is heavier than conventional paints because it's made out of rocks instead of plastic. So the nuances in like how we work through shipping our product all over the country. I mean, there was just so many, pieces, of the puzzle. And I think what really sort of pushed the conversation, forward was we sort of anchored in on a launch date. Like once we had the manufacturing facilities and raw material set up, our formulas, our
paper
products, our like all of that type of stuff. We sort of anchored in on a deadline that we wanted to launch for NYC by Design in 2023, and that just put the right type of pressure on us to ensure that we were moving towards a goal. Yeah. Because when you're starting a business, it can be so overwhelming. There's so many different things that you can do or that you feel like you can potentially do that you really need to anchor in on. There's going to be so many things that change. To be clear, as much as Price and I like to project plan and to have visibility into what we're doing, things change a million times, but it's good to have a milestone moment that you are working towards, or, a couple of big projects now that we are off of the ground, a couple of big projects that we know are definitely happening, and then kind of let everything else, flow. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a journey. Yeah, for sure.
I saw this, video once, and it was Steve Jobs, and he was talking about the entrepreneurial journey, and he was talking about staring out into the abyss and how it's so beautiful, and you're standing on a cliff and you're looking out in the abyss and you see where you want to go and you can see it plain as day, but in the present you're chewing glass. And I was he couldn't have been more spot on. Total visionary, because you're just oh my God, no one in their right mind would be doing this presently. What I'm involved in or what you guys are involved in, but you see the future and you see it and you're going for it. And I think it's so awesome. What's, your colors? You were just talking about the colors. They're so pretty. They're so beautiful. How did you come up with the names of the colors? I scrolled through the site and I looked at them, and they're just they're so nicely named. How did that all work out?
Well, that was such a fun project. It really was a dream project. Starting with the initial color development, right? So we use only 10 natural pigments. Mm-hmm. These are the same natural pigments, the same ochres, the same oxides that have been used since the dawn of time. Those same pigments are used in the Blombos Cave in South Africa. Same pigments in the Lascaux caves. All of these pigments that were used by the Egyptians, the Romans, on and on and on. So taking, it's a numbers game, right? How many different combinations can you create out of these 10 natural pigments? So I went, big, developed a very large palette. And then any good creative process, the magic is in the editing. So edited down. And so we have 119 colors in our core collection. They are all separated into elemental collections. So inspired by air, earth, fire, and water.
Nice.
Which are, kind of the tenets of alchemy, which obviously refers back to our name. And this idea of transmutation and transformation, transforming people's spaces for the better. So, yeah, the color names, we were let's have a great time with this. They're inspired by places we love to travel, family names, music we love, literature. And again, we just wanted to be cheeky and fun and not take anything too seriously. So, and maybe give people a little chuckle.
Yeah,
and,
for sure. I saw one that was was it Bloody Mary Morning or something was there one like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, no. Is it Hair of the Dog? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Yeah, there's Hair of the Dog. There's Hair of the Dog, and there's Bloody Mary Morning.
Oh, sweet. Perfect. I didn't imagine that. Yeah. Which could be both the same color too, if you really think about it.
They're not far off.
Yeah, for sure. What about a music name? What kind of music? This will tell me a little bit about you.
Well, Bloody Mary Morning is an ode to the icon Willie Nelson. Yeah. And one of his great songs. So, yeah.
Was that Willie?
That's Willie.
Shit, I thought it was Johnny Cash. Okay.
It's Willie.
I stand corrected. Damn it. Okay. Yeah. I was going to name a bunch of songs and I was going to be Scarlet Begonias and Fire on the Mountain and just like
all the dead songs.
Yeah, all the Dead and Fish songs. And I was like, I can't do that. I'm not going to do that.
So we had fun with it. And so, to give, bring, again, like we're all about bringing joy and fun and to people's spaces. So walking in and telling your neighbor or your girlfriend or whoever you're bringing over, like, here's my wall painted and here it's the dog, or Flight of Icarus, or, Momoiro or Lazarite.
Yeah. Nice.
Margin Walker.
Yeah. So somebody walks into one of these beautiful rooms painted with these awesome, appropriately named colors, which I just love. And they say, oh, I have a friend and he's a contractor and he would love to get his hands on this. He's been using one of these unmentionable paints we don't want to talk about. He'd love to spice up his life and be healthy. How does one get a hold of said colors or product?
All of our products are available online, exclusively at www.alkemispaint.com. We do have a trade program for anybody that is in the trade. You just need to submit your information, and that will entitle you to a free fan deck, 5 free 8x11 samples, and 15% off any future orders, as well as dedicated trade support. And so, obviously depending on what type of business you have, or if you're just an individual, we always recommend either sign up for a trade program to get a fan deck or purchasing a fan deck. And then, we also have our paint available in quart sizes, gallon sizes, and 3.5 gallon sizes for, inherent cost savings, if you're doing a larger space. And so, basically, it's a modern shopping experience. Our production times everything is made to order for you. So when you get your Alkemis paint, you know that this product has been made for you, best in class, without preservatives naturally. We're just a modern company doing things, and sending it directly to your doorstep.
Mm-hmm.
But we also like to, because this is a slightly different model from what a lot of contractors are used to. And sometimes there's a little bit of pushback, right? Because typically on a paint, when you're working on a paint job, it's like, okay, it's paint day. Like, let's get up at 6 a.m. and go to a local hardware store and grab our paint. So we always like to work with the GC. We like to work with the contracting, the painting team, and just back into those painting schedules and really assist from a customer service perspective to just make sure you get everything on time and just think about that lead time of 3 to 5 business days from a production standpoint. So just shifting people's perspective a little bit, since everything is made to order and it's not sitting on the shelves for a decade with preservatives. You're getting a better product, but
yeah, I mean, in 3 to 5 business days, like that's pretty streamlined. That's pretty quick.
Absolutely.
I think. Yeah. I mean, you're not going to get turnkey, just like, pull it off the mom and pop hardware store shelf, but you're still going to get something made specifically for you in 3 to 5 days. I don't know anyone else that's doing that. So,
well, to clarify, plus shipping, it takes us, our production times are 3 to 5 business days plus shipping.
But like another week max, 2-week turnaround, probably.
Less than that.
Yeah. That seems pretty damn good to me.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bravo. Do you think it will ever get sold in stores or only direct to consumers?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I think that you'll see us in doing collaborations, that are interesting from the standpoint of working with like furniture companies where someone can go and have like a sales rep that they can talk to that will have samples and stuff and explain to them like nuances. I think purchasing will still be online, but we will test some pop-up stores. I don't know that we're ever going to be available in like a Home Depot or a Lowe's though. But it would be really cool to have our own flagship store someday. If the market is looking for something like that, like we're really always, testing, different sort of distribution opportunities. But the reason why we tend to hesitate a little bit about the idea of outsourcing like our tinting systems is simply because we have really exacting color standards. And when we did some initial due diligence in that type of space, we were told that, sometimes there are certain stores that will intentionally tend to paint slightly different than the manufacturer spec so that you have to go back to that store only to get the same color. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, we're cautious of those types of things because we're really trying to figure out like, what does the modern consumer want? And also we realize that, the contractor likes to be able to go out and just pick something up from a local store. And we definitely get a little bit of pushback there. And so that's something that we're trying to figure out how best we can address. Like, I imagine that once we get more data around like our top colors and stuff like that, we'll have what I hope is faster shipping times. We'll be able to stock some of that stuff, in different sort of warehouses around the country so that we can get it to people faster. Mm-hmm. But it's also reminding people that, when we're talking about a quality product that's made with a lot of care, you can't always get it the same day.
Yeah. You can't get 5-star cuisine that's made in a microwave. Like, slow your roll and allow it to simmer a little bit.
Thank you. Exactly. And again, just shifting people's perspective around buying better, buying less, and making those conscious choices. Mm-hmm. And if it takes a little bit longer, it takes a little bit longer because you're getting a higher quality product.
Yeah, it'll taste that much sweeter. Promise.
Exactly.
For sure. Talk to me about the Cradle to Cradle certification. What, I don't know too much about it. I looked a little bit into it. It seems like there's a radius of your materials that are part of it. I'm just speaking on my ass now. So you tell me, you're the expert.
Yeah. So we are super proud to be one of the only Cradle to Cradle certified paints in all of North America. And, this is just reiterating that we're ethically produced and helping customers breathe easier and live more harmoniously. And Cradle to Cradle is the world's most stringent and actionable standard. And unlike other certifications, which tend to focus on a singular measure of sustainability, usually VOCs, I think maybe you're familiar with Declare or Green Guard or Greenwise. So those are all domestic certifications. And again, we applaud anybody making any effort in this direction. But Cradle to Cradle is a global certification, and it assesses all aspects of our product design and manufacturing by evaluating our product's performance across 5 categories, which are material health, product circularity, clean air and climate protection, social fairness, and water and soil stewardship. And so it really is, we always like to joke, we're like, it really leaves the other certifications in the dust. Yeah. In the sense that it's the world's most advanced, kind of science-based standard for designing and making products today that enable a healthy, equitable, and sustainable tomorrow. And one way to just kind of point this out or illustrate this is that, are you familiar with the Red List, Jeremy?
No.
So the Red List is literally a list of 5,000 banned chemicals. And that's typically what these other domestic certifications base their, kind of banned chemical list on. The Cradle to Cradle certified banned chemical list is 10,000 units versus the 5,000 units of the Red List.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, by contrast, you can just see how much more comprehensive it is and how much more intensive testing they're doing from a material health and ingredients standpoint.
Way more stringent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have any idea about how many other companies are involved with Cradle to Cradle?
Well, it's a really incredible certification. It's not just for building materials. I mean, it can be for anything. It can be for clothing. It can be for, CPG products. It can really be for anything. But we're one of the only Cradle to Cradle
certified paints in all of North America. And yeah, just very proud to be working with their organization. We really believe it's the future of these types of certifications.
Definitely. Couldn't agree more. Talk to me about the first sale. What was it like? How did it feel? Where did it go? Tell me everything.
You want to talk about our first installation?
I feel like that's probably, so our first installation was at R & Company, on 64 White Street. And basically I can't even express, like, we still work with them today. It's a beautiful partnership. For me, I had gone into that space, like maybe a year and a half prior, because my friend was director of sales there at the time. It was my first time ever going into the gallery. And they have an incredible, lineup of artists and furniture designers that they work with. They really bridge the gap between art and design. I think, I remember going in there being like, I would absolutely love to be able to paint this space. So when I was at, before we had launched, I was in London and I went to Frieze, and I often feel inspired in those types of spaces where I'm looking at a lot of art, things that are visually beautiful. And I sent Price a text and I was like, why don't we collaborate with a design or art gallery, and see if we can do that, for our, paint their space and then host our launch party there. And she's like, that's a great idea. So we first had another gallery in mind that ended up, not really getting back to us very quickly. And so I just shot a text to my friend, and immediately the founders of the gallery were, interested, and it was like an incredible dream come true to be able to paint this incredibly beautiful space that I had hoped that we'd had the opportunity to collaborate with so many years ago. And then I think what was the most rewarding part of the painting process itself was this was our first time really working with a team of experienced painters, because, R & Company has been working with the same painters for a long time. We had sent them 30 gallons of primer, even though our paint doesn't require a primer on top of pre-existing acrylic latex paint, but we just wanted to have everything. We would rather have more than less. Let's put it that way. And so the painters, were kind of like, what is this? What's going on here? And they started painting with the product. And they loved it so much. They were the coverage, they just went right over these Barney purple walls with, a bright blue. Or not a bright, a dark green, actually. And the coverage, we have pictures of it, was so fantastic. All of the guys were hugging us at the end of the day and giving us high fives and telling us how much they appreciated us taking their health into consideration. Nobody had a mask on. Nobody had a headache. The paint dries quickly. It's super thick. So they were joking around being we can beat time is money, and we're able to get in and out of here in a day. So all of that was so rewarding. Given that my mom was a decorative painter, and the idea that a lot of times the people that is actually doing the painting for a lot of our clients are not actually the same people as our clients, and to know that, we're thinking about everybody in the channel as it relates to their health. It was just a really beautiful moment. We were both so happy.
That is awesome. Yeah. There's something about the camaraderie on the job site. I mean, I spent 20 years on the job site. I'm going to go to the job site right after this. And it's just a stagnant job site. It's just, it's horrible. But when you have the morale just fired up, beautiful things happen. And it really comes most of the time from the products that people are using. You're not going to get a tile guy.
It was really, really rewarding.
Yeah.
And, the first residential, application that we did was at a friend's house in Ojai prior to launching the company, and they had a lot of guests there, and people were sleeping. It was rain. It was like when there was a crazy rainstorm in California, and it was the windows were closed, and people slept in the bedroom that night. People who are incredibly sensitive to any sort of chemical smell, and they were all just blown away. They were like, "There's literally no chemical or odor whatsoever. We can sleep in the room tonight and not even think twice about it." Which, how often does that happen?
Never. Never. Can this stuff be sprayed?
Absolutely. It works great in an airless sprayer, and it can be sprayed, rolled, or brushed on.
Nice. Has anybody ever done any like faux effects with it?
Yeah. Maya can talk about some fun troweling and burnishing.
Ooh, do tell.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we so love working with experienced, contract painters and decorative artists and things like that, because they really geek out on materials sometimes, I feel like, Jeremy, you obviously get it. But as an example, just a standard textured application that you can do. So you can always spray or roll 2 coats of Alkemis paint. But if you wanted to get a little creative, you can roll the first layer of Alkemis paint, and then you can use a block brush on the second layer, which will give you more of an intense suede effect. It will be something in between maybe a lime wash and a normal just uniform finish, which can look particularly beautiful with some of our darker colors. And then, we've had more sophisticated, decorative painters trowel the paint, which is really cool. It almost gives it because the paint has this beautiful clear crystal quartz binder, and the burnishing, it almost gives it like a metallic effect. Yeah. We haven't had somebody do like an entire space like that, but just a couple of samples, and it looked really, really cool.
Oh man. After this, I'm going to order some because I want some, and I'm going to put it on a whole wall for somebody, and we'll send you beautiful photos.
Oh, we can't wait.
So great. Yeah. And I mean, we would love for you to experiment around with it and just see what kind of fun things that you can do.
Oh, we'll have a heyday with it. Yeah. I love it. I love messing around. That's how I got involved in this whole thing. Like I'm messing around all the time. And it's just some things work, some things don't work. And I would be honored. So I'm going to push the buttons for sure. And
super exciting.
Yeah. Make it happen. Let's say somebody wanted to change a color. What's that like?
Well, it's quite, you can just paint directly over it. As Maya mentioned, one of the great things and one of the things that really sets our product apart is we're one of the only mineral paints that you can go, that's self-priming over existing acrylic latex. So if you have a color on your wall already that you like out of conventional paint, you can paint directly over it with Alkemis paint. And then if you want to change the color of Alkemis paint, just paint right over it again. The thing from a material and technical perspective to be aware of with mineral paints, as you well know, is they are much more, they're much heavier. The paint has 40% more solids. A gallon of our paint weighs 14 pounds. A gallon of water weighs 7. Again, that's due to the high pigmentation and the super high quality, which, offers and, creates the incredible coverage and hiding. But you can just paint directly over it. The one thing you want to be aware of is that the paint can build. So you just want to make sure it's a uniform coverage and application. I think where people, not to get too nuanced, but we can with you, but where people, when people come to us and they're like, I'm having issues, it's because they've gone over a surface that they sprayed and tried to do a touch up with a brush and just kind of willy nilly, went in and did that. Or went in with a roller and just not blending and being consistent with that. You just need to be mindful of that because it is a heavier build.
And that's not even specific to Alkemis per se. I'd say that's mostly specific to any wall finish. Any nuance underneath is going to just telegraph right through.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you think Is there ever any plan to do an exterior paint?
Yeah, we have so many exciting additional natural products in our,
I don't want to hit the spoiler alert. We don't have to go any farther. Yeah, that's the answer.
Yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
And what we can say, and lime wash. Lime wash is available. We have incredibly beautiful, best in class, unbelievable quality European slaked lime.
Ooh, nice.
So our lime wash is available to the trade, and we'll roll that out to retail customers, ideally in the next year or so.
No pun intended. Roll it out.
Yeah,
I like
exactly.
It. Yeah. Did I see you have a custom color match option too, or no?
We do.
Ooh.
Maya, do you want to take that one?
Sure. So we offer custom color matching for any, conventional paint company that we have samples on file of, for $25 for a one-time fee. We also, if you are interested in doing custom color matching for, say you have a fabric or some type of standard, depending on the complexity of the sample that we need to, color match for you, we will come up with some type of price, but we're happy to get creative in that regard. And then, we can take it even a step further if you want to create a custom palette, as an example. Say you're working on a hospitality project and they want something that's truly unique to them. We love to do just that type of stuff. And we've done it a couple of times. We've done it for Design Miami. Last year, they gave us a curatorial theme of blue sky, and we came up with, 7 unique colors for them. We also have done that for some beautiful museum institutions where each of the colors really have deep meaning, as it relates to, the needs for the museum and what it is that they're trying to display and the history of color. So we can go as simple as doing just matching a conventional paint color to let's do an entirely new palette for you.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah. People, especially like the creatives, like there's like this, okay, this is our line. And your line is like insanely creative, but there's always like a creative outside the creative that's like, I want something that's entirely mine. Like, I want this to be mine. And I want the Alkemis gals to make mine.
I mean, we've had such good times with we did an exhibition for an artist that wanted to create a space to have the feel, like she was describing it to us. She's like, I want this to feel like ancient Rome on a hot summer day with the sun being really bright, and I want to do it in these types of shades of yellow, and we're going to do an ombre. And, it probably took 3 months, but it was such a fun process to go through with her, and the exhibition looked beautiful.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. I was scrolling through your beautiful site the other day, and I was looking at, you guys are definitely gaining some momentum. It's like it's kicking ass. You've been noted in some periodicals for sure, which has been awesome. And I read a bunch of articles and kind of gained some content for this. How does it feel internally and externally for you both as the brand gains recognition?
I mean, it's so validating. It's so rewarding. Obviously, as co-founders, we're working our asses off, but we wouldn't have it any other way. It's just so beautiful to see our vision and our hard work and this incredible product that we truly believe can shift an industry for the better, gain traction. Mm-hmm. And for people, when we see that aha moment or that light bulb go off, because we can't tell you how many, really experienced designers, architects, contractors, developers we meet with, and we tell them, okay, your current walls are all painted with plastic and, with liquid plastic essentially. And we're essentially wrapping our homes in saran wrap. And that's one of the reasons why mold happens, because the condensation gets stuck behind the substrate. And people are like, oh my God, I never thought about that. And so to have those types of conversations, and just like we did, to have those aha moments and understand that there is a better way that comes from Mother Nature and that is more holistic and, healthier for humans as well as the environment. It's unbelievably rewarding.
Couldn't agree more. How do you feel, Maya?
This is my first time in a true entrepreneurial journey like this, especially one that feels like Price and I always joke that this is our paint baby.
Yeah.
So, it's incredibly rewarding, like I said, to align with so many people who have been passionate about this space and to inspire people in that regard. I do think that as the CEO, I'm always stressed because I'm like, are we going to build this fast enough? What could potentially happen? There's so many international potential risks involved in the sense of I don't know what's going on in the geopolitical environment and raw materials and shipping and all of that stuff. So, when I double click in, I can definitely, get a little stressed out and sometimes feel that things aren't happening fast enough, which is just me being totally honest and vulnerable, as being almost 2 years into this journey. But when I take a step back, I can't imagine us doing anything else. I feel really honored to, be able to, be part of this, what I hope is an influence on the broader industry. I'm really, really grateful.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly seems like you're certainly not so focused on today. You're really, really, really looking out to the future of tomorrow, which is quite commendable.
Trying to have that balance,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What do we need to focus on today? And then, just having that micro macro view.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of micro macro, what do you think it's like? Where do you think that Alkemist is going to be 1 year, 5 years, 10 years from now? What are the big, hairy, audacious goals for you guys?
You want to take that, CEO?
The big goals. I mean, I would like to see the percentages of acrylic latex paint usage just go down in general. I don't think they need to be as high as they are. I certainly understand that, there's plenty of applications where it makes sense, and we're not going to change it all tomorrow, but just having what I hope is to influence the general awareness of people's interior spaces is a core part to their general wellness, is, a goal of ours. I would love to, be a part of people's family rooms all over the country. Certainly expanding internationally is something that we'll be looking to do. I think it would be really cool for us to continue to explore different sort of alternative paint lines that maybe, we're looking at plant-based polymers as an example, because, our paint is only able to be offered in one sheet as a mineral paint, but is there a way that we can come up with innovation, that can allow us to, create different types of sheens while still trying to be, as eco as possible? I think, there's a whole conversation around interior functional wellness, that we can continue to explore, whether it be products that, sort of sit in the ecosystem of what it is that we're focused on, or if we exclusively focus on coatings. I think that will be something that will remain to be seen. We like to do customer surveys to understand what our clients are looking for from us. And so, yeah, there's just a long way to go as it relates to all the different things that we can get into. But what is really, really cool and interesting to me is around, we haven't had a chance to really touch base on this, but we recently did some testing regarding the carbon sequestering nature of our paint. Mm-hmm. And it was very hard to find a lab that would do this, but you may be aware, natural materials like lime and our mineral paint, as they are curing, they will sequester carbon out of the air. And so we wanted to figure out how to measure that. And we were ultimately able to determine that our paint can sequester 1 gallon of our paint can sequester as much carbon as 9 trees in a day while it's curing. And I think how do we continue to come up with technologies? And I'm not just saying this for the paint industry, but across the board that help reduce our overall carbon footprint, because the numbers are astounding. And so continuing to explore having an exterior paint that might be available to something like that. I mean, those are the things that really get me excited. And, I imagine Alkemis paint will continue to move towards over the next, 5-10 years.
Wow. That's a lot. And that's awesome. I love it. Yeah. Yeah. What's next for Price? What's next for Maya? And then, you two are a team, you two are a unit, your partners, your business partners, but also it feels like more importantly, your friends. What's next for you two collectively and individually?
Yeah. I mean, I do really feel like we are connected at the hip in this journey together in the absolute best way. And so what's next? Yeah, we've got a lot of really exciting product collaborations with some really cool brands coming up.
Stay tuned, listeners.
Stay tuned.
Yep.
And new product rollout.
Yeah.
And continuing we really love doing speaking engagements. So we just were invited and so honored to speak at KBIS in Las Vegas, which is the National Kitchen and Bath Show. Industry Bath Show, which is in conjunction with the National Building Show. Those are the biggest in the country.
Yeah.
So continuing to spread the gospel of Alkemis. We love going to all of these conventions and exhibitions and talking to people, and also bringing together like-minded individuals who are, scientists, building biologists, interior designers that we can learn from and that we can collectively continue to spread this message about using natural building materials.
I love it. It's beautiful. I wish I could go to Vegas and watch. That'd be awesome. Thank you, ladies, both so much for being with us today. I'm so happy that every once in a while Instagram can provide something really cool rather than a cat with bunny ears or something. So thank you for just pulling me from that scroll, and thank you for all the work that you're doing. And thank you so much for being a guest on this show. And if there's anything I can do from where I sit for you, I'm all ears. Call anytime. And I'm happy to help out.
Awesome. We're so appreciative.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a great day.
Yes. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening, everyone. Don't forget to drop in next week as we whip across the Atlantic and make our first stop in Scotland for a chat with Becky Little. A skilled mason by trade, Becky's work stacks a line between the natural and the present, connecting people to place through the use of mortars, muds, and history. We'll chat architecture, travel, and familial dynamics. Until next time, cheers!